Welcome everyone, this is David from Quigler, and in this tutorial we're going to show you the key to unlocking the most powerful formula for generating or converting leads. Remember, almost 70% of consumers say that they don't trust real estate agents. And while that may be tough for both you and me to hear, the great news is that with Quigler you have the key to turning this fact into a huge opportunity. You now have the key to creating, nurturing, and owning trust, because trust is a formula that has four parts. First, Quigler easily allows you to give and demonstrate to consumers the process knowledge 93% of them want. Second, it allows you to provide clients amazing insight into all you do behind the scenes for them and making the whole transaction more transparent for them. Third, it's going to augment your current communications with clients with a whole new amazing level of communication that's time-stamped, dated, and creates a running update letter for you to give clients, all done by Quigler, your new personal assistant. And all this allows you to give clients unprecedented accountability that's never before been possible in our business, and that will lead to trust. And make no mistake about it, trust is the greatest, most powerful business generator ever. With trust, you only need a few clients who become your lifelong messengers. When prompted, they can tell 5 or 10 others about you, and they in turn tell their friends and their family, and your business grows. Quigler can be your key to developing a herd of raving fans who will give you business for life. And it's your business. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars a month on buying leads. Or if you do now, you can skyrocket your ROI with this new tool to convert those leads to clients. And when you do, you own those clients, you own their relationship, and you won't have to pay anyone continuously for new ones. They're yours. So this is important stuff. Let's begin. Now you're going to be prompted with this particular screen, and we're going to start with test drive. We're going to come back to the checklist and the profile. Now for test drive, you get under the hood and get to see the insides of how Quigler works. And all you do is give us two pieces of information. Do you want a seller transaction or a buyer? And what kind of property is it? Single, condo, co-op, or multifamily? Click finish, and you're done. You come to the page you're going to spend most of your time on. And on the top are what we call the steps. And in this case of a seller transaction, there's 10 steps, and they start with pre-listing activities. They go through the agency discussion, seller disclosure, search, marketing, and escrow and closing. Now, underneath the steps are 3 tabs: open, completed, and agreed actions. We're going to start with open actions, and that means actions that you have not done. These are requirements, remember, of federal, state law, and the NAR code. We don't invent anything here. Everything is absolutely required of every real estate agent in America. So we don't invent it. It's not optional. It's required. And what we've done is laid it all out for you sequentially so that you know what to do at every step of a transaction. Now I'm going to go through 4 of these, and I'm going to complete them in front of you, and these are specific actions. Now the first one is fair housing. Fair housing is a federal action, and it basically says that you cannot discriminate in your advertising of a property. Now every Quigler action everywhere in the system is a simple yes or no question. We have taken the complexities of federal law, state law, the thousands of pages, by the way, we've done, and we have reduced them to a simple yes or no question to make this easy and always be your mentor and your guide, helping you to do the right thing. So it's a simple yes or no question, and you cannot answer it incorrectly. I will show you that in a moment. Now in this case, I think you all know that you're not supposed to discriminate, so you're going to answer yes. Then second, there is truth in advertising. Truth in advertising is an NAR requirement. Basically says you can't exaggerate, you can't conceal personal pertinent facts, and as of January of 2019, you can't doctor up your pictures to make a place look better than it really is unless you do before and after shots. So here too, we're going to say yes. And then the third one happens to be one specific to a state, in this case Florida, that has very specific ways that somebody needs to advertise. And we give somebody, if you're in Florida, this information so that you know how to do it, and we're going to click yes. And then finally, there's signage consent. I believe all 50 states require that a broker or agent must have the permission of the seller to put up a sign, so we're going to click yes. Okay, now look what's happened to those 3 tabs. We had 9 actions that were to be done. Now, however, 5 of them are left and 4 have moved over to being completed actions. Now, what does this mean for you? This means that when you enter a transaction, you can come in anytime, you click on the above step, and you see exactly what you have done and exactly what you haven't done. And similarly, your client can see that if you choose. Okay, so now I'm going to just show you when these jump from the Open tab to the Completed tab, what they say. These are the notifications that Quigler sends to your client, again, if you want. So I'm going to open all 4, and I'm just going to show you that on the right-hand side, you'll see a drop-down tab, and that's how you open each one of them to see it. And when you do, this is what they look like. And what it basically now says is, David discussed with you, David explained to you, David did this, David did that. And that's what you want. And these are the notifications that will go to your client. We'll show you that in a minute. Okay, now before we leave actions, I want to just do one more with you, and I'm going to jump to the seller and other disclosures and show you what happens if you do not answer the yes or no question correctly. In this case, there's an energy efficiency disclosure in Florida that is required. You must disclose that this exists to every buyer out there. So I'm going to not do it. I'm going to fail to do the right thing and click no. And this is what happens. If you get off track and you try to do the wrong thing, Quigler stops you, gives you a big stop sign, and it says, no, don't do that. Correct yourself and then go and answer yes. And this is how Quigler is not a test. It's not trying to catch anybody. Quigler is a mentor. It's a guide. It's like having a personal tutor telling you what to do every step of the transaction so you always do the right thing at the right time and that your customer knows it. Okay, so we have now, I'm going to stay in seller disclosures to show you some of the other bells and whistles. You now know the steps, you now know the actions, you now know the open, completed tabs, and I'm now going to show you some other tabs. The first is download forms. Now, if there's a form associated or required with a particular action, we do several things. We either give you the exact form, like in this case, for lead paint, we're going to give you the form, and you can print this out, you can email it, whatever, or we're going to give you the state-mandated wording for the form, or we're going to give you links to ZipLogic, to Simplicity, to Instanet, so that you can go into your account and you can grab the form. But each form will be right there for you. The next one is, what will my client see? Well, we already showed you that under the completed tab. But if you want to see what your client will see before you perform the action rather than after, you just click this and it tells you exactly what your client will see. Then there's the Why tab, super important. Remember, everything here is required by law or code. So what we do here is we show you the actual citation from the law. In this case, from federal law or from your state law or from the NAR code, and sometimes all three. So you can actually see them yourself. Then we go to penalties. What happens to you if you don't comply? And we give you the exact citation for what federal law says will happen. Now, with regard to lead paint, it's a hefty fine, $10,000 fine. Fines can go as high as $500,000 and 10 years in prison for some federal laws. Finally, we have pro tips. And this is a really iterative, organic place where we urge you to get involved and share tips with us that we will share with others about how to implement these. Let me give you an example. A broker owner in Florida called us and said, hey, the feds are here and they're handing out $10,000 fines on lead paint like Pez. And we got to the bottom of what the issue was, and it had to do with the fact that agents were not getting the signatures in a proper order. So we tell you the order. That's how we all help each other to all be compliant and raise the bar in our industry. Okay, So now you're done. There's the essence of Quiggler. Now, on your board, you will always find on the top a menu bar with a transaction. Hit that, and it takes you to what we call your transaction manager. This is where all your transactions will appear. Now, in this case, you see we've just created one. There it is. It's in gray, and it says it's a test drive. Now, what I want to show you is not a test drive anymore, but let's assume you've done several test drives and now you're really comfortable and it's time for you to go out to your 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 clients and invite them in to use this tool with you. To do that, you simply go up to the upper right and you click on a new transaction. You're going to move from a test drive to a new transaction. By the way, they're almost identical, so there's nothing new here. The only thing different is that when you click on a new transaction, we ask you, do you want to keep this transaction private to yourself or do you want to share it with the client? Now, you can certainly keep it private to yourself. You can use Quiggler just as a way of organizing everything, of just knowing what you're supposed to do and making sure you did it and nobody sees anything. That's okay. We don't recommend that, but you can do it. Just click private to me. If you click shared with the client, then they're going to get a notification that you've invited them into Quiggler. Either way, you are going to get a new pop-up on the left that says your client's info. Even if it's private to you, you want to enter that so that you can organize your transactions and you know, hey, this is the Smiths and this is the Joneses and this is 123 Main Street and this is 345 Elm and so forth. So we give you also a bit of a pop-up just explaining this so you make sure you know what you're doing by clicking one or either one of those. So now you've seen this already. You entered the transaction type. This is where you enter your client information, and it's pretty basic stuff, and you should do this for the client so that when they come in, they know that it's all set up for them. And then you tell us again the property. You already did this once. This is a single family condo co-op. Finish, and you're done. Okay, so now you're going to have on your transaction manager page another line, and this particular line is going to be in white, and notice it says invitation pending, and this means that there's an invitation we've sent out to your client. We're waiting for them to accept it, and when they do, the client its name is going to appear right there under client, and you will always know how many steps you have done for them or that remain to be done. So this is your transaction manager page. Okay, over time, by the way, it's going to look like this. You'll have lots of them there. All right, now let's get to the all-important consumer notifications because this is where this trust really develops. This is where your openness, your transparency, your process knowledge all becomes clear to them. So when you put the consumer in to that particular transaction and you put their contact information, they get this first notification. This is the first they get. And it's going to have your name there and it's going to say that you've invited them in. And then it gives a little commercial for you. Notice it says that you're going to provide them transaction transparency. You're going to give them constant communication. You're going to give them unprecedented accountability. This is a little PR job for you. Then we give them the form that they just need to fill out, and it's first name, last name, email, and a password, and then that's going to be their private account. And then on the next page, we just tell them exactly how to do this, and then we alert them to the notification bell, and that's what it looks like. And you will have one of these too on your transaction manager. And it's basically telling them that they should click on that bell because you have done some things that are required by law and by code, and by the way, by most consumer protection laws for their benefit. All right, now, when they click on the bell, this is what they're going to see. Now, in this case, we put two transactions because they could have two different agents in two different places and all be on Quiggler. And one might be a sales transaction, one might be a buy transaction, not uncommon. So just notice what this says is that me as an agent selling their home in Norwalk have completed two actions on step 7 of showings. And they can just click on that and then it will open up and it tells them exactly what I did, time stamped and dated. Now I want to also call your attention to the fact that we are always prompting them to mark the transactions as agreed. And notice that was throughout, everywhere, every time we send them a notification, we ask them to read it, or at least mark it as agreeing that you did it. And they can agree to mark all of them at once, make it really simple. They can agree to mark everything in a step at once when you complete a step, or they can mark the individual action as agreed. We want their buy-in. We want them to agree you did this stuff. Okay, now when that happens, let me show you what happens next. Then these actions pop over from left to right, from open to completed and now to agreed, so that you always know how many of them the consumer has agreed that you have done. Now this will be important for an update letter to you. Now when they open this tab, it will say, Sam has informed you that, and then it was agreed to by John Smith on such and such a date. So that is what they see. Now you have another possibility, and you will see the same, by the way. You can go up to the upper right, and you can export all the items, the actions that the consumer agreed to in a step, or you could export them for the entire transaction. And you can export them, and when you do, they end up in this sort of page. It's what we call the agreed page. And it basically takes every single thing you did sequentially, organizes it, puts it into a complete sort of compliance checklist compilation. And it says that here's what you did at such and such date, and here's when the consumer agreed that you did it. Now you can take this and you can put it, click copy to clipboard, put this into a Word file, put it into on your company's stationery. You can send it to them. You can give it to them at the closing to say, I just want you, here's a record that I did everything that I was required to do. You can give it to your broker owner. You can give it to your E&O company and try to negotiate a reduction in rates because you're demonstrating your compliance. You can put it in the file and have it there so that you know if there's ever a transaction, you've got a record of what you did and that the consumer agreed to it. Pretty cool, hey? All right, now if you need help, we have a Get Help tab. We have lots of tutorials out here, including this one. You can always get help. Now there's just 2 more things to do and we're done, and they're quick. First, there's the ethics checklist. What is this and why do you want to do it? Well, the ethics checklist is all those things that are required by the Code of Ethics but aren't transaction-oriented. If they were transaction-oriented, we've put them into your steps and actions. But there are duties we have just to each other, to our fellow citizens, to our country, and those are different. So we put those here, and all it is a checklist. Now, it's not a yes or no because you've agreed to all this. There's no option not to do it. So all you do is read them and just check it off. You only do this once, by the way. If you want to know why, just click the Why tab. It will tell you the exact quotation. And then when you're done, just save it. All right, then finally you've got your all-important public profile. And this one you should probably do very first thing. Now, the profile, you either get it by clicking on the screen I just did, or you come back to your transaction manager, and in the upper right will be your name. Click on that. Either way, you'll come to the same form. If it isn't filled out, it'll be in red, and then as you fill out each of the 6 sections, it'll turn to this turquoise color or green. And if you're editing it, it will already be green. You can come in here at any time and edit it and fill it out. You can constantly add new pictures, you can augment it, put more information in. So that's your profile. Now, that's it. You've just got it all under your belt. And just remember, Quiggler is the tool that helps you implement the never-fail business-generating formula. And that formula has 4 parts: process know-how, transparency, stronger communication, unprecedented accountability, all of which leads to trust in you, and that trust is what generates business for you for life that you own for life. Welcome to Quiggler. Glad to have you.